Good day, viewers, and welcome back to yet another episode of Generation C. My name is Esther Shakela, your host for today. But before we dive right into this exciting, fun-thrilled episode, please stay tuned for the following ad on World Rock Day. Now, of course, Generation C is a fun-filled show with three amazing segments, That is, of course, the Generation C segment, where we focus on youth news all across the country, and we do go through the Zone publication, reminding you why it is the best buy on a Tuesday. And then we have school news, which focuses on news from all around the schools in Namibia, and we do focus on different issues that are currently happening. And then the last and final segment, that is Varsity Chat Room, which focuses on tertiary and varsity news. So if you're interested for that, please stay tuned. Before we dive right into this publication, this is the photo of the week taken by Tunaole Mungoba from Ongwediva. Also, we'll dive into the Zone publication, which reminds you why the Zone is important. Now, the Zone is inserted in the Namibian Sun, Algemeine Zeitung, and the Republican. On page 1, we do have a profile of Phillip Seidler, and Phillip Seidler recently managed to qualify for the Tokyo Olympics during the 10-kilometer open water Olympic qualifier held in Setúbal, Portugal. Viewers, on page 2, we have Power to Small Voices, which is a story written by Maricel Stoffberg. The Petwa Foundation aims to promote a healthy lifestyle, provide health services, and a financial assistance to disadvantaged communities. We also have a Vox Pop, which speaks about teaching and learning, and the learners of Oshwarongo tell us how they feel about the two. On page 3, we do have two important stories. The first one being making sure children's voices are heard, and that was an online webinar attended. The second story is about returning to school in the next month. On page 4, we have a feature that is written by Janet Diergaard and Rivaldo Kavanga, which speaks about Masilingi and Bona, which speaks about being equally different. On page 6, we do have an Afrikaans article which speaks about the drama talent, which was held at Windhoek Gymnasium. On page 7, we have another story which speaks about the youth encouraging vaccines, and also the star teacher of the week, Mrs. Lizelle Gutierrez from Ritme Primary School in Rehoboth.
Goeiedag, ek is Lizelle Gutierrez. Ek is al vir die afgelope 25 jare onderwyseres. Ek het my onderwysopleiding aan die Winterse Onderwyscollege voltooi, waar ek 'n gekombineerde kursus junior en pre-primêr gedoen het. Ek is tans 'n graad R onderwyseres aan die Laerskoolruimte Rehoboth. Ek glo dat onderwys gee is definitief in my bloed, want in my familie is daar vele onderwysers. My lese is: to teach is to touch lives forever. Dankie.
That is all that we had from the Zone publication this week. Please do stay tuned for the following segment. Now, whether it's about you sharing your experience about COVID or you sharing your experience about online learning, we do bring it here right here on School News. Now, please stay tuned for the following videos submitted by our learners.
Hallo, my naam is Moshe. Ek is 'n graad 1 leerling van privaatskool Nanso. Ek hou van online skool gaan want ek kan by die huis bly en ek kan enige tyd veld toe gaan wanneer ek wil. En ek kan nie wag om terug te kom na my maatjies nie.
Hallo, my naam is Stefanie Mostert. Ek is 'n graad 10 leerling van privaatskool Nanso. Ek dink hoe ouer mens word, hoe moeiliker word online skool omdat die werk moeiliker en meer raak. Maar Nanso doen van hulle kant af baie moeite om die online skool so gemaklik en maklik as moontlik vir ons te maak. En ek wil net vir almal sê wat siek is, ek hoop julle word vinnig gesond en vir die wat nie siek is nie, bly veilig en bly gesond.
How COVID affected me as a grade 9 learner. So COVID really didn't have a bad effect on me because from last year we did have online school. But now with online school you have to make sure that you're motivated and you take the initiative to do all your work and stay up to date with your work. Last year I fell behind so bad that I couldn't really pick myself back up and do the work. But this year I told myself I'm going to push harder and work harder and keep my books up to date, and that is what I did. And now with our GSP exams as grade 9s, we are really going to struggle. And we're not so sure if government will still allow us to write because of COVID and everything. But I really do hope that we do get to write and experience it. But if we don't, then it's such a shame. We will be writing same normal exams that we do for school. But I really do hope we write the GSP exams.
Thank you so much for these wonderful videos. We continue to learn from you guys the most. If you'd like to send us your videos and your experiences or your stories, please do send them to wetumwene@myzone.com.na. Please do stay tuned for the following segment. Welcome back to the Varsity Chat Room segment. Here we focus on varsity and tertiary news. On our page 8 of the zone, we do have the Varsity Corner, second home at university, as well as everything in life is at the peak of the moment. Now, in studio, we're joined by Esther Shakela in studio for an interview. Welcome viewers to the Varsity Chat Room segment. Well, in studio today we're joined by Esther Shakela, who is the spokesperson of Nanso. How are you doing?
I'm doing very well, Wetu. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for joining us in studio today. Well, we do know that the funding of the students in the first semester did not happen. So will the NSFAF award loans to the 16,185 applicants only, or is there some sort of guarantee that these students will receive funding in their second semester?
Now, principally, the 16,185 students on the award list are the students that NSFAF is committing to funding. And pertaining to the part of your question that says they didn't receive funding for the first semester, what usually happens with the NSFAF loan is that a student is awarded about $41,000 per academic year, which means that even though the process was delayed, ideally the students' first and second semesters are covered as part of that full year tuition package. So students will be funded. Even at the end of the year, they will not be owing institutions, or they will not be in arrears pertaining to their tuition fees from first semester.
All right, thank you for that clarification. Will all the students who are on the receive list receive funding?
Ideally, yes, because as per past experiences, NSFAF does not release an award list with students that they will not fund. And that is why at the release of each and every award list, they also share the same list with institutions of higher learning, so that these institutions are able to unblock the students from their financial systems, and students are able to register, students are able to attend classes and so forth. So based on that trajectory that NSFAF has, we can assume that there is a guarantee that all these students that are on the award list will be funded. And yes, basically.
And how will Nanso help the students to register for their second semester?
Nanso will assist students to register for their second semester through its flagship Access to Education campaign. Of course, due to COVID-19, we cannot really be gathering on campuses anymore as per our previous experiences. However, we will be assisting in whatever way we can, perhaps setting up with one person per campus and a laptop with internet access to assist students to register in whatever way we can, and also just really to ensure that we are attending to any and every challenge that students have during this period.
Definitely, that's an amazing statement to hear. We're glad that Nanso is really taking part in helping the students to continue with their tertiary education. We'd also like to know is, we are well aware that NSFAF didn't fund the first semester of the selected students, and some students found means to fund their first semester themselves. So are these students going to receive some kind of refund, or what happens then?
Well, normally, especially with private institutions, what happens is that a student is required to pay a deposit of their tuition fees when they're registering. This is just to ensure that the functionality of the institution, is still sustained, even with the student being unable to pay the full amount that is required of them. So ideally now, when a student is on the award list of NSFAF, we can expect that the student is eligible for a refund, even from other institutions such as UNAM and NAST, because they all have refund systems in process, or rather in place, for them to ensure that issues like this are attended to. So yes, students are eligible for refunds from their respective institutions. However, this is still subject to internal consultations between students and their institutions.
All right, thank you so much again for that clarification. I hope that it does sink in and allow us students to follow the right pathway. Well, we got a few questions from the students in our social media, and some of the students who would like to know what your opinion is on the new requirements to be able to enter at UNAM, and also how do you think this will affect the coming first years?
Well, Nanso is yet to pronounce itself on that issue, as we are still involved with consultations with the relevant stakeholders, especially pertaining to this increase. However, we are cognizant of the fact that, especially given that we are right in the middle of curriculum reforms and also a pandemic, we know that requiring students to have more points in order for them to get to UNAM, especially when they're already struggling with the minimum 25 and 5 that UNAM requires of every student for admission into the university, might cause a problem, and we might end up having a lot of students on the street, or a lot of students that are unable to be absorbed into this institution of higher learning, because I'm sure we're all aware that UNAM takes in majority of the students that we have coming from various high schools. So to increase this entry level point, when students are constantly complaining that we don't even understand what's happening with this new curriculum, we can't go to AS level because there's also students that are dropping out of the AS level, it might pose a very serious problem, especially also considering that we haven't been having learners going to school because of COVID-19. So I think that it is coming at a rather unprecedented time, and I think that perhaps under different circumstances, that is, if we were not right in the middle of an ever worsening global pandemic, then I think this increase it came at a bad time.
Yeah, definitely.
Yes.
Any final words or message that you'd like to give to give to students that are watching right now?
Please ensure that you remain committed to your studies even during this pandemic. I know that it cannot be easy for you to continuously concentrate, but put in the work, do what you can, do your best, ensure that your mental health is well taken care of. And please do not hesitate to reach out to Nanso for whatever assistance you may need. We're here for you, we exist for you, and yes.
Well, viewers, that is such a great message to hear today. We are also glad that you students have been tuned into this wonderful episode of Generation C, where we dive into important topics that you would like us to delve into. Please do stay tuned for the following. Viewers, that is all the youth news, school news, and tertiary news that we had for you today. Please do stay tuned for the following episode, which will be right next week at the same place, same time.